الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وآله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Continuing with the Book of Knowledge, section on a scholar who has from his knowledge of blameworthy character traits. The one engaging in it is not safe from arrogance due to belittling those who fall short of him, nor from self-admiration for his superiority over many of his peers. He is not safe from showing off, as the aim of most debates today is to make people aware of their victory and to have them praise and thank them. He spends his life on sciences that help in debate but do not benefit in the hereafter, such as eloquence and memorizing anecdotes. It is narrated in a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that is stated, "The most severely punished of people on the day of resurrection will be a scholar who has not benefited by his knowledge." This is a very weak hadith, but the meaning, at the very least, is well established, right? In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do you enjoin good to people and forget your own selves, right? So this is a blameworthy act, but this hadith, with its specific severity, is not very well established. Debate in itself is not evil, it is not a bad thing. In fact, our whole corpus of fiqh was built on debates, right? But previously, in previous generations, the purpose of debate was to find out the truth, right? So munadara, if you look at the definition of munadara in the books, it is basically parties engaging in talks in order to find the truth. Nowadays, when we debate not in order to find the truth, but rather to prove our point, right? So we've flipped the whole concept of debate and munadara on its head. So we assume that we know the truth, and it's now our duty and responsibility to defend it and to prove it to every naysayer, right? That whole mindset of I know everything, and that mindset of what I know is right and I can't be wrong, that is the source of the arrogance, the boastfulness, the showing off, right? The belittling people. That is the problem with modern day debates. We need to have that humility to know that it's a possibility that we might actually be wrong. العلم of a scholar, inshallah. Chapter on the etiquette of the teacher and the student, and the harms of knowledge, and an explanation of the scholars of evil and the scholars of the hereafter. Etiquettes or adab have always been an important aspect in the Islamic tradition, right? Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, he used to emphasize this, that ta'allamul adab qabla al-ilm, that learn the etiquettes, the mannerisms of acquiring ilm before actually acquiring ilm itself, right? And the Aslaf used to spend, I'm forgetting the name of that scholar, he's quite famous, and he mentioned that spent 20 years with Imam Malik learning from his adab, 20 years just learning the etiquettes, after which he went on to learn the real thing, which is the ilm. So etiquettes are of an utmost importance within the tradition and within this path of tasawwuf and ihsan, it has even more value, right? So it is imperative that we do talk about the etiquettes of acquiring knowledge when talking about knowledge itself, right? And then we're going to talk about the harms of knowledge. Not all knowledge is beneficial, and even beneficial knowledge, if acquired and used incorrectly, may be harmful. And that in turn is going to lead us to talk about the scholars of evil and the scholars of the hereafter. Yani those whose ilm benefits them and they benefit others with it, and those for whom ilm has become a punishment. As for the student, it is essential for him to prioritize purifying his soul from the vileness of bad character and blameworthy traits. For knowledge is an act of worship of the heart. And just like you have to purify your body before you pray, you have to purify your heart before knowledge can actually benefit you. He should sever distracting attachments, for when the mind is divided, it falls short of grasping truths. And this is an important aspect. Most of us tend to forget in this fast-paced era that knowledge requires focus and dedication. Imam Abu Yusuf, rahimahullah ta'ala, he has this anecdote, very famous in the scholarly circles. Al-ilmu la yu'tika ba'zahu hatta tu'tiyahu kullak. Knowledge is not going to give you even a small portion of it unless you surrender yourself completely to knowledge. Right? So even if you really want to acquire a small part of knowledge, you have to surrender yourself completely. Now imagine Imam Abu Yusuf, his level as being called the first Qazi al-Quzat, the first Chief Justice in Islam, right? One of the pioneers of the Hanafi fiqh madhab. And he's telling us that you have to give yourself up entirely if you want to acquire some small fraction. And now today we have so many things on our calendars. We have family engagements, we have jobs, school, social life, so many things, right? And yet we think that by attending a few lessons or maybe doing a short course, we'll have the same status and the same level as the pious predecessors, right? So that is junoon, that is madness if people start believing it. And sadly, people have started believing such a thing. You see part-time madrasas, weekend madrasas, and stuff like that, and they tell you that after you're done with this course, you'll become an alim, a certified scholar, a bona fide scholar with the respect of the ilm and everything, right? And this kind of thinking has had a lot of negative impacts uh, on society and on the whole scholarly circle itself. Now, the question is, if someone does not find time, if someone cannot fully dedicate themselves, so should they abandon the path? No, that's not the answer. Rather, think of ilm as a lifelong journey. It's not going to end with just a short course, right? It's something that you're going to do every day. So little by little, every day, keep doing it, right? You may not reach the status in which you can lead people, in which you can give fatwa, in which you can guide people in their religious matters. At the very least, you will be rectifying your own soul and yourself, which takes priority over everything else, right? So even if you can't fully dedicate yourself, whatever time you're taking it out, do it with ikhlas, with the sincerity, and be steadfast on it, right? The hadith mentions it clearly that the most beloved of actions near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those which are done continuously, even if there are very few. And so maybe you can dedicate only half an hour a week. Do it with dedication. Do it with sincerity. Right? And it should accompany learning the adab and trying to purify the soul. The predecessors used to prioritize knowledge over everything. It was narrated from Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala that he did not marry until the age of 40. Like he married after 40 years of age. And this is not something new, right? Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda, rahimahullah ta'ala, he has a whole book on this, in which he mentions the stories and biographies of those scholars who never married because of ilm. And they abandoned the idea of marriage for the sake of acquiring ilm. And the name of the book is Al-Ulama al-Uzzab alladhina atharu al-ilma ala zibaj. The bachelor ulama who preferred ilm over marriage. right? I'm not sure if an English translation of the book is available. It's There are the translations there. I've seen that, and I've read the Arabic version. So if you want to know such scholars, those who prioritize this, that's a way to go. But this is not for everyone, right? This is very important to know that this is not for everyone. You need a very high level of taqwa before you can say that I don't require marriage, because you need to be able to save yourself from all of the sins that are associated with not marrying. Then, should you choose to tread the path in which you abandon the concept of marriage for the sake of acquiring a. Another anecdote in the same regard: a slave girl was gifted to Abu Bakr al-Ambari. When she entered upon him, he was engrossed in deriving a legal issue, so he basically ignored her. Afterwards, he said to the people around him, "Take her back to the slave market." And she said, "Have I committed any offense?" To which she replied, "No, except that my heart became preoccupied with you. I started thinking about you. And someone like you cannot distract me from my knowledge." Yani, someone like you, a piece of the world, should not have the ability and should not have the status to distract me from my knowledge. Since if you are, you can't stay. Right? So that was the dedication that these people are having. The student should surrender his reins to the teacher, just as the sick person surrenders his reins to the physician. He should humble himself before the teacher and go above and beyond in serving him. That is after you have selected who your teacher is going to be. Now, this is a conundrum. There's a lot of respect for teachers in the Islamic tradition. Rightly so. They're doing us a big khair. But the teachers of today are not like those of the predecessors, neither in their ilm nor in their taqwa or amal. So to expect the same kind of reverence and same kind of respect that the previous ulama used to have, that is something one should not want for themselves. It is the duty of the student to give it to their teacher, but the teacher should neither demand or expect the same kind of treatment and the same kind of reference. You haven't proven yourself, right? And then we have some teachers, some people in the position of teaching. They probably should not be in that position, but they are. Can't stop them. They literally blackmail students into submission and surrender, into following their whims and giving them the respect they probably don't deserve. So be careful in who you are studying with. Take some time, take a few months, gauge the person. Are they worthy of you submitting to them and surrendering to them? If you trust in their ilm, if you trust in their taqwa and amal, then be like the student who surrenders himself completely. And however the teacher guides him, he is guided. Does not ask a lot of questions, does not ask why, rather does what he's told. And after you have vetted to uh, your personal satisfaction, or at the very least, the satisfaction of the scholarly community, that this person is legit. Till then, be careful. But once you find someone like that, be ready to adopt these adab. A student should not be the one who's super critical of everything, who's mistrusting of everyone around him. Rather, they should try to find teachers that they can trust, right? Because the fact that you're a student, the fact that you're starting your journey means that you don't really know the path and you need someone to guide you. If your aql and if your intellect is going to be your main guide, or it's going to be the main thing that you're going to judge each and everything, right? And if you're something's not according to your logic and your intellect, you're going to reject it, you're going to question it, and then you're not going to go very far in this path. You need to first of all accept some things as they are. And once you've grown into the tradition, once you've grown into that subject, then you start critically asking those questions. And that's important to know as well. There are limitations to what our intellect can do when we don't have prior experience. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma used to hold the stirrup of Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu and said, this is how we are commanded to treat the scholars. If the student is too arrogant to take knowledge from someone without a reputation of advancement, then he is ignorant for wisdom is the lost property of the believer. Wherever he finds it, he takes it. So this is also important. Celebrity culture. So celebrity scholars and celebrity imams, right? If someone is only going to take ilm from someone who's famous, right? Someone, who has a lot of publications, someone who has a lot of students, someone who's like a public intellectual, then this person, this student, is not going to acquire much, is not going to go very far in the path of ilm, right? Because those people who are famous and who are well known are probably too busy to give you all the time of the day that you need, right? So there will be people who are very knowledgeable, not that famous. These people can serve you better, or serve the students at least much better than a person who's very busy. But if the student of knowledge, the talibul ilm, is so arrogant that he only wants to associate him or herself with famous people, then it's their loss. For wisdom is the lost property of a believer. Wherever he finds it, he takes it. You don't have to go to someone famous. Maybe your local imam. He has knowledge that you don't. That should not stop you from taking it from him. And it doesn't even have to be specific to believers or non-believers. Obviously, the knowledge you take from non-believers, you will take it with a grain of salt when it comes to religious knowledge. But if they know of a hadith that they've learned and studied, and they can give you proof of that, there's no harm in taking it from them, right? You may not take their personal opinions and their interpretations of it, but if they've translated a book, for example, there's no harm in reading it, right? Obviously, this is a delicate balance, and best when engaging with, let's say, Orientalist literature, Western literature, you have someone of our own tradition, an Islamic scholar who actually guides you through it. That way, you'll probably be safe than if you do free reading on your own. But the point here is that wisdom is something that can be acquired from anyone. It could be from someone younger than you, maybe even a child, right? It could be someone who's not looked up in society. That person must be open to take ilm from whoever. So Imam Abu Hanifa ta'ala, this story belongs to him, Allahu alam of its validity, is that once he was giving the dars in the masjid and then he stood up for a few moments and then sat back down, right? So someone asked the Imam, why did you do that? Why did you just stand up instantly and then just sat down? And he replied that there was a man passing by and he actually informed me of the distinction between knowing if a female dog is pregnant or not by the way that they pee. This is the only piece of knowledge that he acquired, and it's not even religious. And yet the Imam, such a big name and such khidmah that he's done, was willing to stand up for such a person who informed him of this basic fact, right? So you might not even call this wisdom, but these people, our predecessors, would give so much respect to the people from whom they acquired knowledge, even if it was just one singular piece, which may or may not have had any bearing on any legal issue in which the Imam ever debated. So, wisdom is the believer's lost property. Wherever you find it, take it. What are the other adab for the student? He should abandon his opinion in favor of his teacher's opinion, for the teacher's mistake is more beneficial to the student than his own correctness. And this is in the start of their academic or spiritual journey, right? And it's in those issues that are subjective in nature. If something is clear cut, mentioned in the Quran, there's no two opinions on it. You're not going to take your teacher's opinion if it's going directly against the Quran and the Hadith. But if it's something in a matter which is open to interpretation, at least in the start of your journeys, uh, we should adopt our teacher's opinion rather than our own. Because frankly, we're not qualified to hold an opinion on that matter. And this is not your university class in which you're supposed to have your own opinion, right? You have in our tradition, you have prerequisites. You need some basic knowledge on which you build on before you can hold opinions on religious matters. Ali karramallahu wajha, he said, among the rights of the scholar over you, he's addressing the normal people and the talabatul ilm. So what are the rights of a scholar over the general populace? Greeting the people in general and giving him a special greeting. If you go into a majlis, you just say Assalamu alaikum ta'ali to everyone so they can hear. But if there's a scholar present, you go to them specifically and say your salam. Sitting before him, in front of them, not pointing with your hand in their presence, not winking your eye, not asking too many questions, not prompting him with the answer. And if someone asks the scholar a question, you should not be the one, oh, I know the answer to this, or Sheikh, I think, I read in that book that this may be the answer. You need to keep quiet. Not insisting on asking when he is tired, right? So if a scholar says that's enough for today, then that's enough for today. Don't go and saying, Sheikh, we have a few more minutes. Sheikh, let's do another chapter right now. We can take off next week. So no need to give your mashwaras. Not confronting him when he refuses. Not grabbing his clothes when he gets up. Not revealing secrets to him. Yani, don't tell the secrets of other people to the scholar. So some Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said in a khutbah that don't come to me with the secrets of other people and what they've done, because when I come to you, I wish to have a clean slate. I wish that my heart is pure from having any thoughts about anyone. So don't tell me what people do in my absence. Same goes for a scholar. Don't reveal secrets to him. Don't talk about other people. Don't backbite. Let his heart or her heart remain clear for everyone. Not backbiting anyone in his presence, not seeking his mistakes, and if he errs because he's human, then accept his excuse, right? Other important adab, do not say to him, I heard so and so say such and so says the opposite of you, right? If he holds an opinion and you know someone else holds another opinion, you don't need to tell him that, right? You don't need to confront him with other people's opinions and put him on the spot. Do not praise another scholar in his present because he's human, right? Which means that he's prone to having feelings, maybe even jealousy to some degree, right? So it's better that you not praise other scholars in his presence. Unless, of course, he praises them himself, then you can chip in. But to start on your own, especially those scholars who are contemporaries. Praising the aslaf, the predecessors, no one has an issue with that. The issue is when you praise their contemporaries. So avoid doing that as well. If you really want to benefit from a scholar, don't do that in front of him, because if you praise someone else too much, it might be possible that they refuse to teach you anymore. So you have to use a bit of your intelligence as well when it comes to these things. Do not praise another scholar in his presence. Do not show boredom from his long company, and do not consider yourself above serving him. Yani, keep your phones away when you're in the company of scholars. If he, the scholar, has a need, be the first among the people to fulfill it. For he is like a date palm. You wait for something to fall from it to you, right? So be patient, sit in their company. Don't always be in the talab and don't always be in the search that they're going to teach you something. Maybe days will pass by before they give you anything which you consider, and but it is. So you need to just take it when it comes to. And this is again something very important in our fast-paced times because we want everything immediately. That is a problem. Don't so like try to delay your gratification. Acquiring ilm itself, it kind of has a dopamine hit. So you would want to take measures in which you're basically delaying that, right? Whenever a scholar gives it to you, accept it humbly, respectfully. When they're not giving you something that which you think is ilm, still be patient. You don't know what they're gonna say, what they're gonna say that might change your life, or that might benefit you here and in the hereafter. The one who delves into knowledge should at the beginning avoid listening to the disagreements of people, for that confuses his mind and weakens his intellect. Also very important, whenever you start a new subject, don't go directly into the ikhtilafat and different people's opinion. Which means, in this regard, stay away from public discussion forums like on Facebook and Twitter and even WhatsApp. Stay far away, especially if the community is not scholarly. It's mostly of laymen who acquire knowledge here and there. Because for most of the time, they probably don't know what they're talking about. And even if they do, at your journey when you're starting, you don't have the bandwidth and the basic knowledge to be able to navigate between the two. This also goes for studying Western academia, yani Islam in Western academia. First, strengthen your basis in the traditional means. After you have a strong base, then engage in the works of Western academics, because their works are usually focused on difference of opinions, refutation, and stuff like that. And that will be a whole lot of confusion unless you know your basis, unless you have a strong foundation uh, that can mislead you very quickly and very subtly, right? So the lesson over here is that the one who delves into knowledge at the beginning, at the very least, should avoid listening to the disagreements of people because that's be a source of confusion and weaken the intellect. Build your foundation, strengthen your basis, and then you can go into the disagreements and the debates if you choose. He should take the best of everything, the student, for one's lifespan cannot encompass all sciences. Then he should direct all his efforts to the noblest of sciences, which is the knowledge related to the hereafter, through which he acquires the certainty that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu attained, right? Such that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam testified for him saying, Abu Bakr did not surpass you by an abundance of fasting or prayer, but rather by something that settled in his heart. Now, this is a fabricated hadith. There's no mention of such words from the Prophet ﷺ in the favor of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. However, this does not mean that it's not true, right? It is the aqidah of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah that after the Anbiya alayhi salam, the most revered person and the person with the highest status in Allah is Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, right? Not a lot of hadith are narrated from him. His khilafah was not as long as Umar or Usman radiallahu anhumas. Okay. He died soon after Prophet alayhi salam, right? So you could say that there were Sahaba who exceeded him in terms of fasting, in terms of prayer, yet none can compete with Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Why? It was something that actually settled in his heart. Though these words of the hadith may not be true, the reality of the fact is that the meaning that they carry is very much true. And that is because the level of Iman and the purification of heart that Abu Bakr and Siddiq radiallahu anhu had, none of the other Sahaba compared to him. Right? So it is important when you're acquiring the religious sciences, the Islamic sciences, like Arabic language, fiqh, usul al-fiqh, hadith, Quran, exegesis, in all of these ulum, you should be continuously working to purify your heart, to become a better person, to be worthy of this ilm, having a place in your heart, a home in your brain. Uh, These are the duties of the student. Some of them, they're complete books written on adab al-muta'allimin, the etiquettes of the student, and adab al-muallimin, etiquettes of the teachers. Some of them, the important ones, at least in Imam Ghazali's eyes, he's mentioned that over here. And what Ibn al-Jawzi and Ibn al-Qayyim saw as the foundational etiquettes regarding talabul ilm. As for the teacher, he also has duties. Among them is compassion for the students, treating them like his own children, not seeking payment for imparting knowledge, and not intending any rewards or thanks for it. Rather, he should teach for the sake of Allah Almighty and not see himself as having any favor over the students. Instead, he should see the virtue as belonging to them, the students, as they have prepared their hearts to draw closer to Allah Almighty by planting knowledge within them. They are like someone who lends his land to those who cultivate it. So, on that note, I would like to thank all of you for taking the time to actually attend, whether live or on recording, and be willing to listen to the few things that I've picked up from my asatiza along the way. And hopefully, this will benefit you and me and be a source of sadaqah jariyah for me. So, again, I keep you in my du'as, and uh, I hope that you also keep me in your du'as as well. I would request that you do. And inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this journey beneficial for all of us. Right. The teacher should not seek any reward except from Allah Almighty. The predecessors used to refuse to accept gifts from students. Among the teacher's duties is not withholding any evident advice from the student and cautioning him against bad character traits indirectly whenever possible, not in a way that rebukes, for rebuking removes the veil of respect. These are important points for the teacher. First of all, a teacher should be sincere to the student. So if they find that some place else, some other class, some other scholar, some other book will be beneficial for the student, they should be very much ready to advise the student accordingly, right? So if on a personal level I connect with you and I know that rather than sitting in my class you would benefit from others, it would be my responsibility to inform you that. Okay. And similarly, uh, although the scholars did not refuse to accept gifts from students, right? But there has been a form of payment that used to happen. Sometimes people would give them something and they would accept. At times they wouldn't do that, right? Sometimes the government had a system in place. Other times they did not. Obviously, this thing goes around, but a teacher should not demand from the students, right? If they can and they want, they do. If they don't, he should be willing to impart knowledge regardless, because he should be doing it for Allah Almighty, right? Whether there are any worldly benefits to it or not, that should not be the concern. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made a way, then fine with that. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had decided to keep this act of his pure and sincere, then one should happily accept this from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, when cautioning and advising students, it is necessary that a person be respectful. Just because you're the teacher, you don't get the right to disrespect your students. You don't get the right to treat your students however you want. That is not how anything works. No one has more respect and status than Prophet ﷺ used to have, right? That being the case, no one, doesn't matter how big of a scholar you are, can treat people badly. So caution people, advise them, but be gentle, be kind. Don't rebuke them, don't blame them, and don't accuse them. Those are important things, and not just for the scholar. Anyone giving advice to anyone else, respect the other person, right? Be kind with the other person. You're no better than them. I'm no better than you, right? Think of them as human beings, like the golden rule. Do unto others what you would be willing to be done to yourself. So if you like people disrespecting you, I mean, you probably need a different type of ilaj, but most people don't do that, right? They don't want other people respecting them, being mean to them, so don't be that to other people. Because rebuking removes the veil of respect. It's only as far as a person is going to respect you for the ilm that you have. But if your character does not live up to it, people are going to abandon you very fast. Further etiquettes of the teacher, among them is considering the student's understanding and intellectual capacity, not giving him what his understanding cannot grasp or his mind cannot encompass. Some teachers, or some people teaching, might do that. So they bring in a lot of jargon, a lot of hard words just to impress the student and give them the impression that, oh, my teacher is so knowledgeable, right? He's such a big allama and he knows everything and so much, and I know nothing and I need to acquire ilm from him, right? That is a very bad thing to do. That is not a good character trait. Rather, it is the responsibility of the one teaching, of the teacher, to make sure that he dispenses information according to the understanding and the intellectual capacity of the student. So, little by little, step by step, make progress. That is how many benefits to that. That is how ilm becomes solid. You keep revising things, building on them. It's gradual. You understand the progression of the ilm, which makes it more practical, makes it more applicable. The student does not lose motivation because you dump too much too fast and they're unable to grasp it. They feel like they're failing, they feel like they're not enough, which kind of shatters their motivation. And if they do it gradually and step by step, that actually gives them encouragement. So there's a lot of benefits behind this advice. And probably reflect on it and think of more. It is narrated from the Prophet ﷺ that he said, I have been commanded to address people according to their intellects. Again, these words are not proven by the hadith, however, the meaning is corroborated by other authentic hadith. Right? So the hadith was basically that Ali radiallahu anhu, he was instructed by the Prophet that حَدْثُ النَّاسِ بِمَا يَعْلَمُونَ, that talk to people with what they already know. And then he mentioned that do you want people to refute and deny Allah and His Messenger? Because if you talk to them and you present to them something which is completely foreign without first easing them into it, then the first thing that they're going to do is completely reject it. And this may sometimes entail rejecting the Hadith and the Quran, which could be, in some cases, disbelief. So, as the responsibility of the scholar and the teacher is to convey the teachings of Islam in a gradual manner in such a way that people can understand and people can adapt. Ali Karamallahu wajha, he said, there is knowledge here that if I found someone to carry it, I would convey it. Yani, he would not tell, there's knowledge here that if I found someone to carry it, I would convey it, but I don't find anyone worthy enough to convey it to. That's why I'm not telling it. Another reason why one should not uh, persist after a scholar to inform him of a certain matter if they refuse to do so. This might be the hikmah behind it. Maybe the scholar realizes that this person in front of me is as of yet unable to comprehend the gravity of this masala, for example. Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, should I scatter pearls among grazing camels? Should I arrange scattered pearls for a shepherd? Whoever gives knowledge to the ignorant wastes it, and whoever withholds it from those who deserve it has wronged. This is basically the prose translation of it, in which Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala is basically saying that should I scatter pearls among grazing camels? Like the camel is unaware of the value of the pearl, unconcerned about it. Why then should I scatter the pearls and waste them? Should I arrange scattered pearls for a shepherd? Why, similarly, a shepherd may not know the actual value of a pearl. He's not a jeweler. And so, what is the point of arranging the pearls into a necklace, for example, for the shepherd? For he won't realize the value in it. Whoever gives knowledge to the ignorant wastes it, a knowledge that is beyond their comprehension, or the knowledge that they're not willing to accept at the moment. And whoever withholds it from those who deserve it has wronged. And if someone is deserving and someone is capable of taking the burden of it, then you have wronged this person by not giving them the knowledge. And this prose is actually the meaning of it is something derived from the hadith. Now, again, this is a weak hadith, but it's still there. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, إِنَّ وَزَعَ الْعِلْمِ عِنْدَ غَيْرِ أَهْلِهِ, placing knowledge or giving knowledge to those who are not worthy uh, is like putting on a necklace of pearls and emeralds on a pig. It's not gonna make the pig more beautiful. It's not gonna beautify it. You're literally wasting those pearls and emeralds. The same is as giving knowledge to those who are not worthy of it. So it's a responsibility of the scholars to make sure that the knowledge that they're imparting is something that their audience can actually take. And especially those madrasas which, try and make everyone an alim, a scholar. They should keep this hadith in mind. It is not right, it is not justice to try to make everyone a scholar. Not everyone is capable, not everyone can do that. So you have to cherry pick, you have to choose who you're going to impart with all of the knowledge and who you are going to impart with some of the knowledge. Among the teacher's duties is acting upon his knowledge and not contradicting his words with his deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 34, أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Do you order righteousness to people and forget yourselves while you recite the scripture? Right? So, ilm and amal must go together. Without amal, your ilm means nothing. Ali Karramallahu wajha, he said, two types of people have broken my back: a dissolute scholar, a scholar who does not act on his own, and a hypocritical, ignorant person. An ignorant person who refuses to learn, right? These people uh, have destroyed and have harmed Islam in ways beyond comprehension.